Hey everyone. I'm a little bit sick, and not like I'm sick. Like I'm getting eaten from the inside out by bugs. That kind of sick. um, Life goes on, you know. Um, I wanted to do this reading. I should move this down a little bit. There you go. Nice and comfy. That's how this reading is. Uh, Although maybe the subject isn't as comfy, but I think it's a really good message nonetheless. Um, it's about realizing, first of all, choosing yourself above everything else, right? Showing up for yourself, choosing yourself, making sure you're taken care of first. Um, and then also about realizing that you're going to make mistakes, that people make mistakes, and no one is perfect, right? And actually, mistakes are a part of growth. They're a part of the spiritual journey, they're a part of psychological growth, they're a part of developmental growth. They're a part of growing anything, right? As mistakes. And what came through very strong, let's talk about the devotion to yourself first. Let's talk about that. Um, that came through very strong in a couple of ways. Um, take take what makes sense for your life right now, leave what doesn't, right? You may be in a place where things are very chaotic, right? Or at least they feel that way. Um, you may feel that things are falling apart um, all around you, and it may be very hard to stay afloat at this moment. And actually, what I'm going to do real quick, I've been making a habit of drawing before readings. I actually, to make this a little bit more clear, I'm going to pull from a deck that I did before I started. Kind of see where you are at currently. Let's see. Okay, very promising. Very promising so far. Let's get one more. Oh, come on. Let's get one more. Okay. Yeah. So this committing to yourself, right? It's coming from a place of self-care, right? It's coming from a place of protecting your peace, right? Making sure that despite all the weird shit that might be happening around you, right? Whether it's people causing it, whether it's situations, right? With a job, with school, with family, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that is causing this kind of feeling of upheaval in your life, of chaos, um, you are making sure to protect your peace within it. Um, and that's a very good thing. And it's a very powerful thing as well. Um, a lot of the times, in my life at least, when things start going wrong around me, um, and this very much depends on the situation, right? And it depends on what you can actually do, right? But a lot of the time, I tried to help in things or fix things that were in reality either A, not my job to fix, or I should not have had the responsibility to do anything about it, right? It wasn't fair to have that responsibility. Or B, I lost B. B is gone. um, yeah, deuces to B, I guess. Anyway, um, it's it always depends on the situation, right? What you can actually do, if it should be your responsibility, right? Um, but at the end of the day, even if it is your responsibility, if you don't have the capacity to deal with it, that is what it is, right? And you shouldn't overexert yourself because that could lead to a derailment, right? Of what you do, of your mental state, of XYZ, right? So if you are doing that, keep doing it. I was in a place for a long time where I would feel guilty about doing that. And even longer, I was in a place where I wouldn't do that in the first place, where I wouldn't choose myself. And you need to choose yourself, right? You come first at the end of the day, every time. Every time you come first. That doesn't mean you're selfish. And choosing yourself is not being selfish, right? There's a lot in this world that will try to make you think that choosing yourself is selfish, right? And of course, there's different situations, right? If you have kids, if you have a wife, even. But even then, right? I think children are one thing. When you are with someone, you make a commitment to them, right? But that doesn't mean you overgive to them. That doesn't mean you overexert yourself to help them. Because at the end of the day, they should be able to take care of themselves too, right? Just as you are able to take care of yourself, just as you should be able to take care of yourself, right? Being a compassionate, kind, caring, and giving person is not about completely overexerting yourself, overgiving, giving with everything you have. It isn't about that. although those are signs of those traits, that's not what it's about. What it's about is doing what you can when you can, right? And being willing to give whenever you can, right? Not hoarding, not being closed off, not being prickly, you could say, right? With that, there is that train of thought went away too. That's all right. Trying to keep a train of thought while you're sick is kind of difficult. Not that I'm great at it to begin with. Yeah, I have ADHD, so that's already kind of a problem for me. And when you're not at quite 100%, makes it a little bit more difficult too. Let's get to the second part, which was fuck, what was it? Oh man, I'm gonna keep this in because I don't really care. This is, oh, the second part was about making mistakes, right? How fitting, right? Not being perfect. And that's part of what I want to convey with this channel, right? I mean, part of why I'm so honest and don't try to put off this air of perfection, because I'm not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm pretty damn good. But I'm not perfect by any means. And I mean, even that, I say with an air of jokingness, right? I've always, maybe you relate to this. I've always been the kind of person humble about my accomplishments, about what I can do, what I'm capable of, right? Very humble, and I've always been a person that makes jokes at my own expense as well. And I don't know, like, have you ever... This is a little bit off topic, but I really love this idea of, if anyone's ever watched Critical Role, if you watched Travis play Grog in the first season of Critical Role, right? It takes a smart person to play dumb in a funny way, right? And if I'm honest, I've had to play dumb in some points of my life, because I've always been able to, like, see through people's shit, and sometimes, especially when you're a teenager or a kid, right, it's not the best idea to call people on their shit, right? Especially when you're a kid, especially when you're a teenager, right? Sometimes it's not the best idea to call people on their shit, so you have to play dumb, right? You have to act like they're not just bullshitting, like lying to your face or putting up a show, right? I felt like kind of a rant. Maybe someone needed that. I don't know. there's a lot of things with making mistakes, right? It's the path towards growth. It's the path towards bettering yourself, towards going towards a better future for yourself. As long as you use those mistakes to grow, try to not do it again instead of falling into like self-ridicule and self-criticism, and even you can go as far as self-hatred, right? You don't want to get into that energy. You don't want to get into that place, that mental state, because it doesn't help anything at the end of the day. Use regret from your mistakes to push you forward in a better direction, not to ruminate and point out your flaws, right? And I mean, something that I've learned too is some things get easier to deal with, right? Certain shadows, certain things you're prone to that are not healthy, that are not helpful. They get easier to deal with, but they never really go away. They get easier to control, when you work on them, right? They get easier to control. They get, you can talk your way through it with yourself, with someone else, whatever, right? With self-awareness doesn't come the elimination of the thing, of the problem, right? With self-awareness comes the ability to circumvent it, comes the ability to recognize it when it's happening and be like, okay. You ever seen those like improv shows where like, change? It's kind of like that, right? Something comes up and you're like, nope, change. We don't do that. That's not the thing. That is not helpful. Stop that. I don't know. I don't know what this is. Know that like the wrist web thing that Peter Parker has, like, rah! That, I guess that's what I was doing. I don't know. I'm getting the feeling too from these cards, can you see that? Where's the actual camera? Elegant Eagle. Clarity. I'm trying to read this backwards right now. Inspiration. Insight. God, I'm good. With this choosing yourself, with this realizing, your humanness, your, humbling yourself, making sure you stay humble, right? Making sure you realize you're going to make mistakes and that mistakes are a part of this, right? Through realizing that, you're gaining a lot of freedom, right? You're gaining new insights, you're gaining clarity, right? On your situation, on where you're heading, on, where you want to go, right? A lot of the cards that came out are not only about mistakes and loyalty to yourself, but how those can culminate into growth and following the path best aligned for you, right? The path that you most want to go on, right? That you most want to pursue. Because when you choose yourself, right? When you take care of yourself first, it's inevitable that you make the choices that are most aligned for you and not for anyone else, right? And when you do that, only good can come of it, right? In the long run, right? You're still gonna have struggles, you're still gonna have problems come up, right? But only good can come from pursuing the things you truly want to pursue, right? Pursuing the things that in your heart you know you want to achieve, right? Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. Um, I want to say before I end this amount of like choosing yourself and acceptance, and it can be very difficult, especially for people who care about other people's feelings, right? Who care about how other people might react, how other people feel, right? Doing this, choosing yourself and making sure you're coming first, um, can cause a lot of inner turmoil for people who are very empathetic and want everyone to be happy, right? And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing to feel that way, first of all. And second of all, you don't need to feel guilty for choosing yourself. If people truly care about you and you explain to them, or they know, right? You might have to explain it to them, right? Or if they know that you are doing these things for you, then they will support you, right? They will not question. They will not they will not try to make you feel bad about it. And in reality, most of the time, right, at least in my experience, I have had people make me feel bad for choosing myself, right? But also, like, I'm talking about like guilt tripping and like manipulative, like that kind of thing. But also, right, I've done a lot of assuming on that, right? There have been other situations where people didn't feel that way at all, but I assumed that they would, right? Going through scenarios in your head, right? And that caused me a lot of turmoil, right? So be careful with it, right? And communicate with people if you need to. Um, but also just know that you don't need to feel guilty about it. The fact that you do, right, comes from a place of love, comes from a place of wanting other people to be happy. And that's beautiful. But at the end of the day, you are not responsible for other people's happiness. And you should never be responsible for other people's happiness. The only person's happiness you should ever be responsible for is your own. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try to make other people happy. But if a decision that chooses yourself might make someone else unhappy, that is not your problem. Because if you need to make the decision for yourself, it is going to make you happy in the long run. Some things also, I'm rambling a little bit here, but sometimes the thing that is best for you does not always feel good. That's another thing, right? Okay, before I keep going, I'm actually gonna end it there. I just wanted to, you know, end it on a more empathetic, understanding, like uplifting note, right? Um, and if none of that relates to you, then it doesn't, and you didn't need it. Later.